Of course, we just had, thanks for all the people who came from such great long distances from Panama and from, you mentioned somewhere else. Texas. Phoenix. Great. Ottawa. Okay. Winnipeg. Warman. But you know what? There's still one more guest that's traveled very long distance to be here with us this evening. She's come all the way from Chernobyl in the Ukraine. And I know this is a surprise to you, Chad. She's traveled this long distance and she's come here to honor you, Chad and Erin, on this very special day. And Baba Shnerubniuk, there she is. Wandering through the crowd. I can't believe she's here. She looks like $1 million. She must be a little travel weary. How are you? How are you?
Tired? Old?
Are you glad to be here?
To be honest, these people in the front row might see a little bit more of more of the promised land than even Moses saw.
Well, we're glad you're here anyway.
Well, thank you. I just want to say off the top, I'm very surprised that I was even invited to this thing. Because, I mean, you know, as far as relations go, I'm fairly far down the way. I'm from Chad's mother's side of the family. Of course, I'm his mother's great Guido's brother's wife's Guido's Baba, so it's you're reaching fairly down into the bucket there. But I'm very appreciative. The food was excellent. I had to eat it in the back room, of course. But it's been just terrific. And you know, as I look at you, Harvey, I could almost cry. It's because you remind me so much of my own dear brother. God rest his soul. God rest his soul.
What happened?
He was eaten by wolves. I went out to do the chores one morning and all I could find was his belt buckle was hanging from the barbed wire fence. And his left boot was on the other side. Amazingly, his right foot was in that boot. I don't know how that happened, but he was never too bright of a lad. You know?
So how was your trip here?
Oh, the plane ride was fine. That was very lovely. I don't fly a lot, you know. I don't dress up like this too often either. I'm usually in the rubber boots. And I'm telling you, these shoes here, these fancy shoes, my corns were killing me. On the airplane, I kept bugging the stewardess, but what can they do? They don't even have this thing. There's nothing they could do to help me, and I was scratching my foot. I thought I was gonna go crazy, Harvey, yeah? And I was just scratching, my corns were just bothering me so bad. They're still, oh! I got it! It's okay. It feels a lot better now. It's not quite cooked. It's not, but, yeah. I feel so much better now.
So now you live just outside of Chernobyl, where they had that horrible disaster in 1986.
That's right. I mean, we weren't exactly right there, but our farm was located about 400 yards from the disaster. So, yeah.
Consolation.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So
were there? I mean, did you being that close, do you suffer any side effects? Any kind of nuclear?
You mean from the nuclear?
Yeah, from the blast.
There was many side effects. First, I noticed my chest hair developed quite a bit, as you can see, right? And then, the next thing I learned that my nipples glowed in the dark at night. Yes, well, in fact, they still. It's very convenient if you want to do some reading in bed at night. But I usually cover them up. It's a bit shocking. Also, I noticed also sometimes my voice goes really deep like this here. And just all of a sudden, almost like I was a man. Also, every year on that day that happened, my varicose veins pop out like Polish sausages. Yeah, exactly. And we have many cats in the barn, and I noticed that after this thing, all of the kittens had 3 heads. Yeah, it was sad, you know. The money we spent on cat food, you can't believe it. It was crazy, Harvey. But
Any other side effects?
well, you know, there's my chapped lips, but I've always had problem with chapped lips. Lately, though, I've been using a very powerful moisturizer. You can see they look not bad right now, you know. But have you heard of oil of ole?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is called oil of old lady. And it's made from the placentas of other old ladies. Very powerful. Very powerful. But you know, when I was a little girl, I had the chapped lips so bad that we didn't have these kind of remedies. I'm telling you, I thought for sure I was going to die just from the chapped lips. They were so bad. Until one day, when my Guido came to visit in the yard, and he said to me, he said, why don't you go into the barn over there and kiss that horse from the wrong end? And I said, even as a child, I thought, this sounds a little bit crazy. So I said, Guido, are you sure this is going to heal my chapped lips? And he said, no, but it's sure as hell going to stop you from licking them. And even so, I never followed his advice, but I want to tell you, Harvey, that horse was very important in my life. It's the way I met my husband. We had the greatest, largest horse in all of the Ukraine.
Really?
He was 12 foot high from his hoof to his something else. And never mind that his head part was higher yet. I mean, that horse could eat oats out of the eaves trough of the house. He was so large. And every year my father would take that horse out of the barn and invite all the neighbor kids would come to ride that horse. It was like a once a year event. And this one year, all the kids came, they were riding. Well, of course, we had to use a ladder to get up onto this horse. And the kids were riding around all day, but then I noticed, you know, I was just a young girl at the time. And there was this handsome man on that horse, young fellow, and I thought, oh, how could I meet this? I never saw him before. His name was Jack. Anyways, he was up on that horse riding, and all those kids, for sure, they went over the hills with that ladder, and they took off, and he was stuck up there. So I thought, this is my chance to meet this boy. So I went over and I said, Jack, why don't you just turn sideways on that horse and jump down to my shoulders, and I'll get you down to the ground from there, right? Well, he turned to the side, but that horse jumped, and he fell down with his legs were right around my shoulders, with his nevermind was right in my face right here, like this, right? Well, back then, when something like that happened, you had to get married the next day. It wasn't like today when the kids, they're kissing already and sending pictures of themselves to each other. Maybe sometimes they're having this here, what you call premenstrual intercourse. It wasn't like this. It wasn't like this back then. I'm telling you, Harvey, back then, when you were single up to the age of 25, everyone slept in separate barns. So, he fell to the ground like this, he fell down, and of course the Orthodox priest was in the yard the next day and we got married. And I'm telling you, Harvey, or Erin, you know, I don't know how it was for you and Chad, if it was love at first sight or if it was more of a gradual thing. But I'm telling you, for me, I was in love from the very moment that I helped my future husband Jack off that horse. You know what I'm saying? So, anywho,
That's a tough story to follow.
well, you know, and we were married for 75 years. Even though from the fall from that horse, he became one of these here things where you can't move your arms and legs, like quadriplegic. Everything I had to do, everything in the house, everything for him, and yet we were still married for 75 years. So that's for better, for worse. It could happen the same day. Never mind. So you gotta be very serious about marriage. We were married for 75 years, and until I accidentally killed him. It's very sad. It was on our 75th anniversary, and I was out in the yard doing the chores as normal. You know, I castrated a few chickens and milking the pigs, and then I was making my way back into the house. And I could already hear the violin music playing from inside where he was watching his favorite TV show, Tommy Hunter. The Tommy Hunter show. And I came in, I guess he didn't hear that I came into the house. And so I was puttering around in the kitchen and, you know, of course, the El Cherney was playing his violin there, you know. And after El Cherney, it was the Rhythm Pals for a little bit, right? And then, of course, after one or two Velveeta commercials, which are Kraft Caramels also, was on there very much. And then Anne Murray came on. And oh, how Jack loved that Anne Murray. I mean, he was sitting by that TV just mesmerized, leaning forward, listening to her sing. And, you know, he always said even if her words are translated in Ukrainian, they're still beautiful. Like for instance, when she says that line, "Spread those tiny wings and fly away," right? Well, in the Ukrainian, that's "Velika holova, anaya hogitko, inaviki vichni." Yeah, you could see how it is almost like poetry. Right? So he was sitting there, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna make him his favorite drink. So I went to the fridge and I was mixing up a jar of borscht. And I was quietly gonna bring it to him. I guess he didn't know I was even in the house. And he was just leaning forward, listening to that Anne Murray. And when I tapped him on the shoulder, oh, he jumped up and his arms went flying and he fell down on the floor clutching his chest. And that was it, he died. That was it for him. Yes, and I mean, it took me to get 3 neighbors out to drag him out of the house. We tied him up to that same horse. And we dragged him 3 miles to the cemetery. And I'm telling you, if you're keeping track, that horse is about 95 years old already. So that's about it. And Harvey, that's, you know, I would like to talk on more, but I got to get down back on the airplane and all the way back to Chernobyl.
I got a question. Whatever happened to that horse?
Whatever happened, he was eaten by wolves. He was eaten by wolves, right down to the 4 horseshoes where he was standing, that little bit of stumps. That's it. Yes. Well, anyways, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you listening to me.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for coming through.
And I'm going to go home. Yes, shake the hands of this wonderful bride and groom.
Shnerubniuk, everybody. All the way from Chernobyl. There you go.